Hello and welcome to our latest podcast.
Number 5.
It is number 5, and we're both back in the office, albeit in different rooms.
Yeah, we should do one together rather than being separate.
Keeping our social distance. Maybe next time we'll be in the same room together. You never know. We don't want to catch anything nasty from you. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a camera that can fit both of us on screen though at the same time.
And I'm saying nothing. Great. Well, today we have another guest on, and a great guest at that. We have the lovely Ashley Boroda, who is an expert in iona, but he will no doubt tell us all about that. So, without further ado, let's bring Ashley into the room.
Hello.
And like magic, Ashley appears.
There you go. And I'm in a completely different building, and it's exactly the same, isn't it? You don't need to be in the same building.
How was the green room?
The green room was very, very special. The catering was exceptional.
Nice sandwiches.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, great to have you on. And this is obviously our 5th episode, and I'm sure you've watched all the other 4 in great detail. Yes,
I've watched one of them. I've watched the most recent one. That's what I watched. So I knew what I was letting myself in for. Yeah.
Well, the last one was a bit of a nightmare because my computer just decided not to work on me. So I was in and out of that one. I kind of kept disappearing. Anyhow, do you know what? I might have to stop this and start again because it's saying it's been live for 10 seconds, but it hasn't been, has it?
I've got 1 minute 52, 53, 54 on mine.
So I've got 18 seconds on mine.
I've got 20 on mine.
That's maybe since you let me in.
Oh well, should we just call this as part of it? This is live TV, everybody. How it works. Okay, so let's carry on. So Ashley, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
So I'm a business coach. So I work with business owners, CEOs, MDs to help them grow their business and to deal with any issues that they have within. The thing about coaching is it comes without an agenda, or not my agenda. It's always the client, the coachee's agenda, and I work with them to help them through their issues. So I'm not making suggestions, recommendations. I'm not coming with anything prepared in advance. Once I see them again, we have actions at the end that we agree, and we'll start the next session talking about the actions. So that's how that works. The other thing I do is I'm an iona practitioner, and that works with my coaching as well. And iona looks like this. This is the cartoon version, and it's a non-psychometric communication tool, and it is the easiest thing in the world to pick up, to understand. It's very, very user friendly, and actually a lot of fun too, and works everywhere. As long as there's more than one person communicating with another, it's relevant. The only time it's not relevant is when you're on your own and you don't need to talk to anybody.
And we can vouch for that, can't we, Stephen? Because you did a session for us. It must be 2 or 3 years ago now, and so you've got a high red in the room and a high yellow. I'm the high yellow, and Stephen's the high red. Hi yellow.
So there's Ashley, isn't he?
Ashley's the high yellow as well.
Yeah.
So go on. So what does that mean then? So Stephen's a high red. What does that mean?
So high reds are here. I'll run through it very quickly. So the good news is that everybody in the whole world is like 25% of the world's population in their communication style. So they share that with a lot of other people, but they're not like 75% of the world's population in their communication style. So there are 50% of the world in which we all have commonality with. And then there's 25% who, when we're really honest, we know that they really get on our nerves, and they feel exactly the same way about us. So the world divides firstly this way across. Up here are assertive people who think forward, think in the future, happy to put their opinions across, and are good at work that needs decision making and things that don't need close consideration. On the opposite side of that are non-assertive people who do exactly the opposite of that. So I'm going to put this down now. What they're doing, it's beginning to hurt my arm. What they were doing is they think in the present, and they're good at information where there's needs detail and a lot of consideration. Then we divide again down here. So there's left brain thinking people and right brain thinking people. The left brain thinking people are logical. They are self-contained, so they don't need people to progress, and they share their thoughts and feelings with people who they've built trust with over a period of time. Open people talk to anybody, but they do need congratulations, and they need recognition, and they want to collaborate. They want to check, say, what do you reckon on this? They need to know that other people approve of what it is they do. And they are, as I said, happy to talk to whoever they want to talk to. So which two of those four things decides your style? As you can see, there's red, yellow, green, and blue. And in IMA, we call them high red, high yellow, high green, and high blue, for the simple reason that we're all a blendable four colors, yet we have one highest color, one that makes us identifiable, the one that we reset to, regardless if we want to or not. So the example I always give is that I grew to be, don't worry about this, Rob, but it's just my height we're talking about here. I'm 5'11". I didn't have a consultation about my height. I just am. So my IMA color is exactly how I am. Now, I can differentiate my height by getting down on my knees or standing on a chair, but I'm still 5'11". So the point is I will always reset to 5'11". I have no choice. So although I might spin around all four styles, I will always, it's this wrong way around, this camera, isn't it? I have to do it this way around, reset to being high yellow regardless. I can't help it. It's where I will end up being.
You should also know that on screen, I'm also 5'11".
Are you? That's fantastic. Good. There you go.
I don't look any different from you.
No, you don't. In fact, there's a guy I did some work with, and he told me that he was 6'5". Now, I have no idea if he is or not, because on Zoom, we're pretty much all the same height.
I'm definitely I'm 6 foot on my Tinder profile. Just don't tell my wife.
So how does IMA help you in your business then? What?
So it's helping other people's businesses, which is important. So that there are significant areas in which I've used IMA. And to begin with, just to explain, is that we all communicate in a different way. So if you're communicating with somebody of your own IMA color, that's very, very easy. When you're not, you have to think about how they communicate and communicate in their style, not yours. That's the best way of doing it. And that's where you'll get a much better relationship. You're much more tolerant. You fall out with people a lot less. And you also understand when you look back why certain things worked and why certain things didn't, because you have to adapt the way you communicate. So areas in which I've used it is, so let's start with family mediation. So family mediators use it. There are a couple divorcing. They find out their IMA colors, and they know to begin with where things are going to be going. The other thing about it that is the magic behind it, that we didn't know this until this started to happen, was it depersonalizes the relationship. So here we've got a couple called George and Mildred, and they're about to divorce, but one is high green and one is high yellow. And at which point the mediator is talking to them about as high yellow and high green and not as George and Mildred. And therefore people are not seeing it directly. They're not offended by it. They're not putting up defensive towards it, because they are what they are and they're happy with that. There was a very senior man at a big law firm who I do a lot of work with who said about high yellows that are in pain in the arse, right? And had he said I was in pain in the arse, I would have felt slightly aggrieved at that, but I didn't care. I just thought, yes, we are a bit, and he's high red, which is why he said that. So that's one area in which we work. We worked in schools. You imagine in a classroom, you're going to have all four styles. All four IMA styles are sat there waiting to learn, but the teacher only has one IMA color. So their delivery of education is going to be from their IMA color, which means it's going to alienate more people than it's not in the room. So that's a big piece of work that has to be done. Hospitality has been a big success. I worked with a local McDonald's franchise in which we intentionally IMAtized all the colors of all the jobs. And it's got 3 restaurants, so we did it with one and not the other 2. And the one that had IMA was massively successful. The public like it so much so that it's now in the top 20% of customer appreciation, what they call feel-good moments at McDonald's in the country. And there's a lot of McDonald's restaurants in the country, but it's in the top 20% because people like the fact that they're going to be greeted by high yellows and high blues, who are people who like to talk to people. In the meantime, the efficient people who are attention to detail, people who are putting logic together, following a procedure, are going to get your food and drinks out much quicker and much more effectively than the other 2 groups of people. Then we're looking at recruitment, which is my big thing here. We know that people and jobs have IMA colors. So the idea is to take the job description, the actual job, not the one you want it to be, the one the person actually does, and look at it and see what color should it be? What IMA color is this job? So when you're recruiting, you're then looking for somebody who is the same IMA color as the job. Now that sounds quite simple, although to attract those people, you have to advertise the job using language that appeals to that IMA color only. Then you have a choice of, let's say it's high reds for an example. You then can decide which high reds you then want to follow it through with, but your process internally has to be for recruiting high reds, which means no high blues can be in the mix, because they have it's very fashionable now to say that people have an unconscious bias, but quite a lot of people have conscious biases. So that's also part of the issue. So the people who are the opposite shouldn't be involved in that process. And the process should be allowed to let the high red show what they're good at. So they're okay in interviews, but I've had a situation where people are not looking at the IMA color. They're looking at a CV and they're looking at an interview. And if the job's for a high green, they're not necessarily going to be naturally the best interviewers in the world. So therefore, a high yellow could get the job by mistake. Now, high yellows can't do high green jobs over a long period of time. It's not possible, but they can. Well, they're really good at interviewing, right? They're fantastic at talking people into doing something. So if ever you employ a high yellow by mistake, put them in your sales or marketing department, right? Because they fooled you, they can do it to someone else, right? It's as simple as that. That's really, they're the main areas in which. The other thing is to look at is retaining staff. How do you do that? Well, you do an IMA health check. Again, take the job description, look at the bits that match their IMA color, and remove all the bits that don't to someone else who has a different IMA color, who would welcome doing those bits and pieces that person number one won't. Therefore, you become more efficient and effective. Everybody's much happier. And when everybody's happy doing a job, they're good at it, aren't they?
So what you're saying in a nutshell is that we all should do an IMA test and put it on our CVs.
I'm a questionnaire. It should be on your CV. Absolutely, it should be. I am a high yellow or high red, or whatever it is that in your case, high red. And that would help. So when I've been to companies where they've got themselves stuck and they've said, well, we've got the wrong IMA color person doing this job. The reason they've done so, it turns out, is they advertise for a job title, experienced relationship manager. Now, that relationship manager might have been a relationship manager in 2 other places and done well enough to be able to get a job with these people, based on the fact that someone behind them was guiding them to be good at their job, not because they're naturally good at that job. So you have to look at, what do I need? Is it a task-driven job? Then I'm already looking at a high red or high green. And then it's about, is it a self-starter, someone that needs leadership, someone who wants to make decisions quickly? Then you know you're looking for a high red. If somebody that's looking at intense detail, you know you're looking for a high green. If the question is, it's a relationship job, again, is it someone that's a self-starter, leader, networker, go out and bring business in? You know it's a high yellow. If not, you know it's a high blue. I mean, it couldn't be more simple than that. But most people are not doing that. They're going by CV, experience, and your ability to do an interview.
But so two questions then. Firstly, so do you genuinely believe that people are born with that personality and with that IMA color, or is it something that can you change it based on life experiences, or you know, is it just a natural? It's the old nature nurture debate, isn't it? I suppose.
I think that you're born with it, and the reason I think that is that I don't know why, by the way, I can't tell you that, but I say this quite often because I had a moment where years ago, about 2-3 years ago, I was flicking through the television and landed on a program on Channel 4 that I was only going to look for 2 minutes before. I was waiting for the ad break and I was going to move on, but I got hooked on it. It was called The Secret Life of the 3-Year-Old. And there was secret cameras inside the nursery, and they were following the stories of these kids. It was very cute, as you would expect, but I could tell the IMA colors. And I thought, wait a minute, I can tell the IMA colors of 3-year-olds. So therefore, I probably can tell them of 2-year-olds and younger. So you are born with it. If you think of your own families, my parents were high green and high red, and my brother and I both high yellow. In my own family, my daughter and is high yellow like me, and my son's high red like my wife. So there's no rhyme or reason as far as we know. There will be one. It's just that we just don't know what it is. But it's a bit like your height. You're born with it and you're stuck with
Why
it.
do you have to keep talking about height?
It's just because when I see you, I can't stop.
So, but the truth then is that if your certain colours are going to have a ceiling on their career paths, I would have thought, because if they're very much a detail. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that the ones the people who tend to get to the highest levels tend to be, I would have thought, the high reds and high yellows, because they are salesy, or certainly high yellows are salesy. They're more ambitious, potentially more driven. So if you're a high blue or a high green, is that them putting a ceiling on your future career?
No, not at all. So you've heard of Bill Gates. He's quite successful, isn't he?
No, I don't know him.
Oh, he's a fella that messed around with computers in his garage. And yes, but he's high green. So there's no way in the world you can say that he hasn't reached the ceiling, because he might have been overtaken by not being the richest man in the world anymore, but he's still in the top 10 or something. So there is no limit. It's the fact that, so I use this is my new favorite prop that I use in my training. This is your comfort zone, and it's either a high red, high yellow, high green, or high blue comfort zone. And the idea is you want to expand it. You don't want to jump out of it. That's the mistake everybody makes. You need to get out your comfort zone. You think, no, you don't want to get out your comfort zone. You want to be in your comfort zone, but you want to add more things to it that you're more comfortable with. So it's incremental increase as opposed to big increase. And at which point you're going to be brilliant at the things you're good at. Why people are held back is that they are pushed into areas in which they don't excel. And if you're not assertive, you're less likely to complain about it than people who are assertive. So that's why you're seeing what you see. But you'll see high greens that are, especially in things like technology, accountancy areas that we work in, actually, they're flying, because they're areas in which they are really, really expert at, and people want to hear what they've got to say. So no, there's no limitation at all. It's just a case that you are held back by being in the wrong place.
Okay. I find it fascinating. I think it's very interesting, and I know we've used it in our business here to with success. We got rid of some people. no, I'm kidding. But it's worked out well, and it does make you think when you are recruiting. It does make you start to think about what you're recruiting for, and are they in the right place within your business. Because not only does it hold back the business, it holds them back as well, because they're in a position they don't want to be in ultimately.
Yeah, but sometimes, Rob, they don't know that for years. That's the issue. They've gone down a path of doing such a thing, and they've carried on doing it. And no one said, why don't you do this instead? And if they actually recruited by I'm a Colour, they wouldn't have got that original job in the first place. And they may have been disappointed, but some months later, they ended up in a career that they actually wanted and would have excelled at, probably greater than the one they're actually in. But also within any workplace, you have to look at who are your clients, who you're going to work to, who you're working with. If it is that you desperately need one I'm a Colour that you've not got, the chances are you're going to have loads of people who clash with them. So it has to be managed properly to ensure that they're not going to go after 3 months, I'm out of here, I hate it. I've had someone who said, we definitely need a high green. We're missing a high green. Everybody else in the team's in a high yellow. And I went, you're not going to put one high green in a group of high yellows. They will absolutely hate it. And some of the high yellows won't be that pleased either. So they'll leave. We've got to build it round so everyone knows that, and then have maybe put 2 or 3 high greens in. Or in the meantime, if it's urgent, put a high red in instead. And that's what they did.
Okay. So just changing the subject a little bit, how's COVID affected your business?
To begin with, it hit it really very hard, because all my work is very much face to face. So I'm a training to groups of people, and I'm doing coaching one-to-one. And a lot of people still are not happy being coached over Zoom. Some are, but very few. So that the coaching side has had a massive effect. on the other hand, I decided to give out at the beginning, like everyone did. We'll give everything away for nothing. And it was opportunity also for me to experiment what I could do on Zoom and what I couldn't do. I reckon I've retained 90% or more of my IMA training course on Zoom, and I have been doing it. Luckily, because Zoom has breakout rooms, I did once with one client recently where they have to use Teams, and they had a great way of getting around the fact they didn't have breakout rooms, which was very creative. So hats off to them, but it's not the same thing. And also I couldn't go into the rooms because they didn't exist. I was literally at one point when they were going off, sat here like this on my own thinking, what am I meant to do now? So I went off, made myself a cup of tea, went to the loo.
You were in the green room.
Yeah, I went into my virtual green room. Fantastic place.
But you're right, it's a problem though, because your business is very touchy-feely, and you know, face-to-face is so important to be able to coach people. I would have thought. I know I would definitely prefer, you know.
I get that, but I think if someone who I've coached for many years, it shouldn't make any difference. It would be odd for someone who you've not coached before. I agree, and I'm not sure I would be all that comfortable with that. But I say the IMA training works really well, and it's still very, very interactive. So it's you imagine you've got a screen for the people, you've got all their names in front of you the whole time, so you can't forget their names, and everything I do, I always ask people's opinion. I ask questions. It's constant, and it never stops being interactive. I don't think there's any period of time where I'm just sat here talking endlessly. The most part will be what I just did for you now, as initial explanation of IMA. The rest of it, even that, I would say to people, Stephen, what do you think? How would you describe an assertive person, etc. So there's constant, exactly the same as I would do in the room. And it works really well. How I know it works is the reaction afterwards, not people telling me how much they liked it, but how much they take the IMA questionnaire and give it to their friends and family. When they start pouring in, the answers start pouring into my inbox, I know I've hit a nerve.
Yeah, we've done it, haven't we? We've sent your questionnaire out to a number of people. Just to find out of interest. It's good to know what people are as well. So. And because you did a training session for, so I've mentioned in previous weeks that obviously I'm a member of BNI, and you're actually the president of our chapter, and I know that you did a national training session for BNI as well, didn't you?
I did a webinar, yes.
Yeah,
an hour's webinar explaining IMA and how it can be used for recruitment, how it can be used in HR, but also how it can be used within an organization like BNI. So BNI has roles within each group, each chapter, and actually, like everything else, they've got IMA colors attached to it. Now the difficulty is you're choosing from a pool of people who are the members, so you don't necessarily can control that. But in a situation, you were previously leading part of the team that led the chapter, and all three of you had the same IMA color. So all the things you hate doing are the same. So now it was essential that when I became president, that I didn't have any other high yellows on the leadership team. So there are people that can cover all the crap I don't like doing, and I will do the stuff they don't like doing. And so far, it works really well without anybody going, "Oh, I don't want to do that," because it's all the things they actually like doing.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference, and to any BNI chapter out there, having a strong leadership team is just vital to the running and the future proofing of the actual chapter as well. And I know when I originally brought you into our group, you're slightly reluctant at the time, but now you've grabbed it with both hands, and you seem to love it now. So in fact, I can't shut you up about BNI normally, so that's fine.
There you go. No, well, but you mentioned it, I didn't, so that's fair enough. But you're right. No, I was reluctant to go anywhere where I'm told I have to go every week. It's just my high yellow nature. If you won't tell me what to do, I'll do whatever I want. And as long as value is demonstrated, then I'm happy to get fully involved. But I have to know that my time is worth investing. Otherwise, I could be somewhere else doing something else, or nothing at all. But it doesn't make any difference. That's up to me.
No.
So how do you find out what your IMA color is?
So if you go to ashleyboroda-ima.com and click on it, there is a 10-question questionnaire, and there's only options A or B on radio buttons. So it takes high greens longer than 2 minutes, but everyone else it takes 2 minutes to answer. And at the end of it, you will get to tell you what IMA color you are, as long as you answer the questions accurately. So the way to do that is to remember how other people perceive you when you answer it, and also do it instinctively. If you think about it way too long, you'll probably come up with a different answer from the one of your actual IMA color. But the thing about IMA is it's not about you, it's about other people. So other people, if you come out, say, high yellow, and everyone says, no, we know Stephen, he's high red. And they all say that, you are high red, right? Because that is the perception, and they will be right because they are on the receiving end of your communication.
Yeah. Okay.
And what does the future hold for IMA then? Is it constantly being developed, or is the theory now set in stone? And
well, the theory remains. It's about then how you can look to use it. Firstly, it's being used quite often now as an icebreaker. It's like a digital icebreaker. People can ask each other what IMA color they are, and if they don't know, they can answer a questionnaire to find out, and then they're in conversation. It's a great way of having a conversation. It will replace people going on, oh, it's turned out cold today, but it could be the new British way of starting to communicate. But digitally, it works from that perspective. But also, there's just areas that need to develop. So I'm working it with schools. The school piece is huge. There's a lot of schools in the world, and none of them are using it, or 49 in Manchester are using it, but there's not a lot others. And so that's a big piece. And then just, changing how recruitment is done. The other thing about recruitment that's very interesting is that I always say to recruiters is that you don't prepare people for the interviews, right? And I know they're going to say they do. And of course they do. They prepare the candidates for the interview, not the person who's doing the interview. And that is a major part. If the person doing the interview is the wrong person to be doing it, they'll get the wrong results at the end of it. And that's a big, IMA can help with that. There's so much work. It will outlive me by many centuries, I suspect.
Fantastic.
Good.
Right. I think have you got another question to ask, Stephen? Because I think
we're coming to the end. It's we've been on for 25 minutes or so.
25 minutes, yeah. That's the optimum length of a podcast, so I'm told. So on that basis, we're going to have to say bye. But thank you very, very much for coming on, and it's been interesting and fascinating as always. And we've not had anywhere near as much comedy from you as we normally get, which is very disappointing.
No, I'm sorry.
You can crack the last joke if you want.
No, I think the two of you make up for any comedy that I haven't managed to give today.
Right.
Lovely, brilliant. Well, thanks so much, Ashley, and no doubt we'll have you back on again another time and for an update. And we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
All right,
Cheers.
bye. Take care now. Bye.
Okay, Stephen. So that's another episode under the belt. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Indeed. All right. Take care.